Well, welcome to this Interact software demonstration. In this session we're going to be looking at the job costing due and charge invoicing system. Now, as you may know, there are several options, about a dozen or so, ways in which you can create an invoice for a job. This is the latest one. And it's really a very simple process. We create your job, which you can do under menu number 3 off this main menu here. You add transactions, and those transactions could be timesheets or subbies costs or stock that you've issued to the job, well, all sorts of different transactions. That's done under the accounting menu, or if you prefer under the job menu, or indeed even under the job itself. So you enter these cost transactions and they go into a job cost ledger, and then you can go and create a due and charge invoice, and it automatically copies the transactions across that should be invoiced. You can add your profit markup at that point and it creates the invoice. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to show you, before we get in and show you that, I'm just going to show you a document here which has a flowchart with the files that are involved, or the screens. What we were looking at a moment ago was the Interact main menu, which is the top of the tree, if you like. Then we're going to drill down menu number 3 into the jobs or projects database, have a look at a job. This is the job header screen, as we call it. Next screen down, the third one down, is a summary of all the job financials, all the grand totals so far on this job. And it's under that we see the due and charge invoicing. Actually, you can go into the transactions area, you'll see it as well. And this is where you create the due and charge invoicing. There's only 3 fields of data input, so it's extremely quick, and there are prompts for you all even on those 3 as well. So the emphasis here is get an invoice done quickly, easily, where there's a bit of flexibility as to the profit margin. Once you create that invoice, the system will go across to your job cost ledger for you automatically. Look at all those invoice costs that have not, the transaction costs that have not been invoiced. And the ones that have been invoiced, they'll be copied automatically into this invoice line item area. You can add some invoice comments if you wish, but at that stage it's ready to print. You just print your invoice. All the ledgers and job cost analysis and profit analysis will be updated automatically. Don't have to worry about that. One of those summary files that is updated after doing an invoice is a summary of revenue and profit by cost group. A cost group is such things as your own labour, materials, subbies, etc. So that's really all there is involved in this system. So let's go back now to the Interact system, and we're going to call up that job and have a little look at it. So I'll select menu number 3, the Inquiries Jobs Projects Database. It's going to come up with a search screen automatically. I'm not going to bother searching, just press enter or the start key. There's only one job here. Here it is, so I'll just press enter to select that one. Now this particular job is a typical job. It's actually a building related job. It could be any sort of engineering job or whatever. And if you can see here, this is the job header screen. It heads up the overall job, who the client is, and the site address. If we want to link into the client database, we just click on this button over here, View Client. We're classifying the job. This one's in work in progress, hence WIP is the status. It's a domestic project style job, as you can see here. Who's the project management, priority level if you want to. We've also flagged it here, how do we want to invoice, and it's set to yes, which means that we want to have a due and charge invoice. Now there's actually 2 ways in which you can do due and charge. One is a one-on-one, which is the one we're going to do on this demonstration, but there's also a one where you can automatically create what we call draft invoices for all jobs that are flagged as due and charge, and it will go through once again the job cost ledger and create those invoices automatically. You can again edit or change those invoices to suit, but when you hit the automatic update button, it will actually print the invoices or send them off and update all the ledgers and everything else automatically. Okay, so enough about the job header. If we go down, there are some job financials here. You can see some totals coming through from the job financial summary. Let's go into that summary. Lots and lots of fields. If you want more information on these fields, I would suggest you go to the construction industry note that's on our website. It's a very good and detailed note, and there's also, as you'd expect, a video demonstration on the construction industry system, and all of these fields, variations to contracts, contract sums, all these things are explained and forecasted costs in those documents. So we're going to be mainly focusing on the due and charge invoicing. Here's the menu here, number 5. But before we go and create the invoice, can I just pop into the transactions and processes area, number 7 there. Quite a busy screen, this one. It's got all the menus in relation to one job on the one screen, so you don't have to move back and fro. They're all here. And the job cost edge is just number $1,255. Won't bother searching, just press the start search. And here are all the transactions, cost transactions that have come in. You can see some are labour, some are sundry, subbies, stock interest, machine time, all sorts of different costs have gone and hit this job. And the thing about it at the moment, this column down through here, it says, have they been invoiced yet? And it's all saying no, they haven't been. So we're yet to invoice and create a sales invoice. Here is, by the way, the cost, $12,000 of all these transactions, and we've already marked up those costs using our standard markup applying to the individual cost items to get to what we call an expected sell price. But we can just nominate a markup. If that's the agreement you've got with a client to have cost plus a markup, you can do that and ignore the expected sell price. Alright, so that's the job cost ledger, in showing you a listing. By the way, there's the actual cost, the same figure, but this is just a summary here. We can get it broken down also by phase. Here's a breakdown of by all. In this case, this job has 17 different phases, and you can see across the screen there's all the actual costs as well. There's $12,000 yet again in the actual costs. Okay, so there's lots of different cost summaries by cost group, by cost item, by phase. Again, that note I mentioned about the construction industry system does talk about all those things as well. Right, let's not muck about. Let's get in and do the due and charge invoice. You'll see how quick it is. So there aren't any in here at the moment. So I'm just going to press enter to add one, or I can of course come up and hit the green plus key up the top here. It enters good, just to put me into add mode. The first field of input is asking me for the invoice date. It's the one that's highlighted in pink there. And you can see down the bottom it's got some help text that says just press the enter key and it will bring in today's date. So that's the first bit of data entry. It's now saying, hey, the expected payment date, which is going to give you some cash flow analysis, what money is expected in each week from debtors. It's already worked it out from the payment terms down here, 7 days from invoice date. It's worked out that the expected payment is that. We can edit that if you really want to. I'm just going to press enter to accept. And the third and last field says, what's the narration or comment on this invoice? What's it for? Now, you can have any number of these narrations. You can just create them on the fly. But I'm just going to say it's a progress payment. And what's happening now is that the system's gone to the job cost ledger automatically, and it's copied across and attached to this invoice all those job cost items. And as you can see, this column, once again, updated, is blank. They haven't been attached to the invoice. The invoice value at this moment is 0. All right, so I'm just going to come back from there just one moment. I'll just close that down for a moment. Now, it was pretty quick. You might recall all I typed in was the invoice date, or I pressed enter for that, and then it calculated the expected payment, and I selected the narration. All the other fields copied in automatically, but we actually haven't created the invoice yet. All we've done is attach these invoice line items automatically from the job cost ledger. We've yet to update them. And in the help text, just mentions back here, there's step 1, 2, which we've done already, which is just add the header and it will copy across automatically. Step 3 says you should now update those line items automatically to attach them to the invoice, if you like. And we haven't done that. So we're going to do that in a moment. But also, just before we do that, it's the invoice basis defaulted automatically to M, which allows us to define the markup. And the markup is this 20% down here that's copied in from the job. But you can override that and put in any other sort of figure if you want, 22.5 or whatever it may be. But you can also select S there, and what it will do, it will automatically use then the expected sell price, which is copied across from the job cost ledger. In other words, use all the normal markups, charge out rates on labour that you would normally have, instead of having a fixed markup on sell prices, on cost prices, if you like. Okay, so let's now just update these line items to have them create the invoice for us. So I'm just going to use the Alt-U for update command, and I'm going to update all records, and it's now automatically going to flag each of those line items with updated yes, and hence they're invoice items. It'll take a little while because we're using Camtasia at the moment, but such things as the debtors ledger, the general ledger is being updated, all the sales and profit analysis by job, including monthly summaries, cost group summaries by phase, all these things are being updated. There's probably a couple of dozen files. Here they are, it's redisplayed, and they're all now updated. And it just says I've completed it. And you can see that the invoice totals are all being posted to automatically. You can see the costs have been taken up. This is the invoice sales value with GST has been calculated. That, by the way, that discount offer is a prompt payment discount offer, which you may want to have printed as an offer on your invoice. That's the expected sales value, by the way, using your normal markups and charge out rates, which is what we haven't used in this case. We've used the 22.5%. Let's just now go and print that invoice. And printing the invoice, of course, you'd have your own name and address at the top of the invoice, including your own logo image file. We've just got the example on this one with Interact. It's taking a bit longer because of the Camtasia display. Now you can see this particular layout. Now you can change these layouts to suit yourself. There might be two or three different layouts that you might end up having, but this one here is sorted by phase. You can see the phases of preliminaries, demolition, site preparation, etc. It's showing you all the details, such as the hours worked and the rates. Quite a detailed invoice, but again, you might just want to summarize it by phase and not show the detail, or indeed not show quantities and rates, just show the value. So these sorts of details you can decide on when you get your system. You don't have to accept this one. This is just one example, of course. Just go through the next page. And you can see here, down the bottom of the screen, this is on page 2, there's also a cost group summary of the charges, and they're the GST and then the total including GST. Now you can print that invoice, you can email it, you can create a PDF file. All these options are available at the top of the screen here. Okay, so we also, when we did that invoice line update there just a moment ago, what happened was that we also, the summary by cost group got updated. So it's showing you the sales and profit on this particular job to date, on this invoice, I should say. What's been invoiced, we invoiced the 16,000, but there's by the different cost groups. Pretty much got them all there. The other thing that's happened, if I just come out of the due and charge invoice area, of course the total invoice of what's been invoiced has been updated, not surprisingly. If we go into the budget actual breakdown by phase for this particular job, this is a job with 17 different phases supposedly. One of the columns here is what has been invoiced. That's actually been updated. I can just show you one of those. I think preliminaries is one of the ones that was updated. And here's revenue at $7,000 been invoiced. All right, so everything's been updated from that one entry. That's about all I was going to show you. One thing I suppose you can see, if you're those accountants of you that want to say what happened in the general ledger, there is a little tab button here called GL Post, and it will show you all the debit and credit entries that have gone through to the general ledger. And you can see the accounts here, what's been debited and credited. And again, of course, you've got a balanced transaction summary there, if you like. Well, that's really, I'll just go back to home, which will take you back to the main menu. That really ends our little demonstration on due and charge invoicing. I hope you enjoyed it.